Hey real coders, I hope you're all doing well. Today I'm going to talk about a topic which is how to architect a NestJS application. It's been a topic which I want to talk about for a long time, and actually I've recently published an article regarding this on my website, which you can find the link in the description. In today's video I will go through the article and I will explain what I wrote there, and then we'll implement a real world example following the rules which I've explained in the article. First of all, I've been a software engineer for more than 6 years, so I have a decent experience with applications architecture. If you've already worked with NestJS, you'll already know that NestJS doesn't provide predefined structure. A predefined structure is good and bad at the same time. It's good because then you already know where to find things even if you change your project. But I think a good architecture should be based on your domain, not finding things in your applications. If you create a new NestJS application, the default thing which we have is really simple. There's the src directory, the test directory, and package.json and tsconfig, which aren't like exactly part of our architecture. So the main thing here is the src directory, which we have to build our architecture inside there. I'm not going to talk about the src directory a lot, so just know that our code will be here. Let's start with an important concept in software architecture, which is modules and modular architecture. This module is different from what we have in JavaScript, so don't get them wrong. In simple words, a module contains all the logic associated with a specific domain, which they all should follow the first rule of solid principle, which is single responsibility. This means that each module should only be concerned with its own domain, not others. This is important because, for example, if we have user domain and product domain, which I would call them like user module and product module, there shouldn't be a dependency between them, okay? They should work on their own. Okay, enough talking, let's build our architecture. First step is to define our modules, okay? So we'll create a new directory inside src and we will name it modules. That's simple. And then we'll put our modules here, and we'll separate them by directories, okay? So we would have, for example, user, auth, product, post, and comment. And in each one of these directories, we will have separate files which are related to that domain or module. Okay, for example, we have this user module here, which we can see what each module should look like. For example, we have this controllers directory, DTOs, jobs, models, services, tests. I guess it's simple and you can guess what each directory does and what it should contain. For example, we have all of our controllers inside controllers directory, or we have our DTOs here and we'll separate them by the type. For example, this is a request DTO and this is the response. And then we'll have our jobs, model, and services and all of those stuff. So this is pretty obvious, okay? The main thing which you have to keep it in your mind is to separate each file based on the functionality which it has. For example, we have separated the controller, okay? We have separated the services here. So they're all separated by directories, which will make them cleaner. And then obviously you would have like shared stuff, okay? For example, helpers or logger, and then you can like create a common directory inside src, and you can put all of your files there. Another part is database files like migrations and seeds, which you can create another directory inside src named database, and then you can separate them by other directories or subdirectories, for example, migrations and seeds. The only part in our architecture which is not inside src directory is obviously the static files, because they're mostly not TypeScript or JavaScript files. They're static, for example, like email templates or your language translations and other stuff, which you can put them outside your src directory. For example, you can create a directory named statics. That's simple. Okay, finally we have the last step, which is circular dependencies, and surprisingly it's not about directories. I'm sure that you've already heard about tightly coupled architecture and why it's bad, but for those who don't know about this, basically a tightly coupled architecture means you have a high amount of dependencies in your architecture. For example, component A will not work until you import or use component B, which is really bad, and it will like stop your development over time. So I highly suggest you to search about tightly coupled architecture and find the reasons why you should avoid them. Okay, then you might ask, what's the relation between circular dependency and tightly coupled architecture? Basically, when you have circular dependency, that means you have a tightly coupled architecture. I know sometimes you can't just avoid them, but there are ways actually to avoid them. There's a great article regarding this in Trilon. I suggest you to check this out. Okay, let's start building our architecture. I've created a new NestJS application, and I've removed app controller and app.service inside SRC. So this is what we have currently. I will cd into SRC, and then I will create a new directory named modules. This is where we would have all of our modules. And then we can use NestJS CLI. Okay, then I will use nest g and mo, which stands for module, and then we have to call it modules/user, and this will create a module inside modules and users directory. And then we definitely need controllers, and then we will have our service, and that's it, I guess. If we use tree again, we see that we have this modules directory, and then there's user, and we have the controller and service that we created right now. So let's go inside SRC, modules, and user. We have to separate these files again. I'll create a new directory, for example, controllers, and another one, services. And then I will move, for example, user.service to services. And also I will move user.controller to controllers. Okay. So right now we have controllers and services. And then as you can see, we have these two test files, which I'll move them to test directory. So I'll create one, and then I'll move user service to tests, and also the user controller .spec to tests. Okay, now we have to create our model. So I'll create a new directory for our models, and then I will go there and I will create a new model, which I will name it user.model.ts. And now we have to create our DTO directory. So I'll create one, and then we can go there, and for example, we'll create one named create-user.request.ts. Okay, and then another one for user-created.response.ts. And that's it. Of course, you can extend this and add your own things here. For example, if you have jobs, you can create another directory named jobs. That's it. So let's go back to SRC. And now we will create a new directory for our common files. And for example, let's create a file named validator.ts, which can share it between your modules. And that's it. And now we will create the last directory inside SRC, which is database. We have to create migrations directory and also states directory, and then we can go back, and the last part here is statics directory, which I'll create one, and then we'll go inside this statics directory, and then I'll create another directories here, for example i18n, which is for your language translation files. And then I will create another one for your templates. And that's it. That's all you need for a good architecture inside your NestJS application. I hope you find this video and the article useful. I know there are a lot of things which I haven't covered, and it's way more deep topic to talk about. But this is a simple overview of how you can build your own architecture inside NestJS. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and if you have anything in your mind, leave a comment below.